Hello, my friends. It's Nick. It's the ASMR nerd. And guess what? It's time for another relaxing keyboard unboxing and typing test. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these, like several months. And so I'm keen to get back to it. I did recently do a video where I ran down my top keyboards of the year of 2023, my favorite ones. And it just so happens that this keyboard made the list, the LOFREE FLOW. Now you're probably wondering, how is it possible that I know what this keyboard is like if I haven't unboxed it yet? And the answer is that LOFREE sent two of this keyboard. So you can actually see the keyboard right here. I'm doing this a little bit out of order, I suppose. But they sent this version with the dark colorway and the tactile switches. And then this version here, which has the light colorway and the linear switches. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So what is the LOFREE FLOW? Well, again, if you saw my video from the other week, you might know that it is a low profile keyboard. That is to say, it's very, very slim, very, very thin, and designed to be portable. And low profile mechanical keyboards have, let's just say, not the best reputation. I suppose a lot of people feel that they don't have enough travel to their keys. You know, they don't move enough distance from top to bottom. They often lack the niceties of their full-size brethren, but the LOFREE FLOW changes all that, and that's why it's one of my favorite keyboards of the year. So the Flow is a premium, low-profile keyboard. It has all the features you've come to expect from a full-size mechanical keyboard, but just slimmer. It has an aluminum chassis. It has hot swap sockets. It has high-quality mechanical switches. These ones are from 𝓒𝓐𝓜. They're made of POM plastic, which is a really nice self-lubricating plastic that makes for excellent keyboard components. And perhaps most surprisingly of all, it has a gasket mount, which confers a very nice, buttery smooth typing feel and sound when paired with those 𝓒𝓐𝓜 POM switches, as you will see and hear once we get into this box. So yeah, this is a little out of order. I have already used this one extensively, actually. At work, I take it with me to work because, being the keyboard snob that I am, I couldn't stand the $5 Dell membrane piece of garbage on my desk at work. So, you know, I just take this, and it's perfect for that because it is so slim, but premium. But yes, like I said, getting ahead of ourselves, let's unbox this LOFREE FLOW and check it out in detail, you know, top to bottom, front to back. Also, a big shout out to LOFREE for sponsoring this video and for sending over not one but two LOFREE FLOWs for me to check out and test and share with you. I appreciate their support very much, And I want to make it clear that this is a sponsored video and not the same, as a full review, I suppose. That's why I like to call these unboxings and sound tests. And I think it's important to be transparent about that. But it will still be full of delightful tingly sounds and a beautiful keyboard. So, LOFREE FLOW comes in this really nice box. It has this silver slip cover here, which says on it, LOFREE FLOW. It's got this kind of matte foil look to it. It's got some Chinese under that. LOFREE is a company out of China, I believe. Says here 84 key dual mode low profile mechanical keyboard. So the Flow has both wired connectivity and Bluetooth. No 2.4 gigahertz connectivity, which is perhaps one of the few nitpicks I have with this board, but it will do Bluetooth. This is down here, maker 2 meters squared. I'm actually not sure what that means, but it's some kind of slogan, I guess. This is not the first LOFREE board that I have encountered. Quite some time ago, I reviewed the LOFREE Dot, which was an interesting design. Not my favorite board to type on, I must admit, but it certainly looked unique. But the Flow is a very different beast. We have some tech specs on the back, basic product info, compliance data, that sort of thing, contact info, and all that kind of good stuff. Not too much else. If we remove the slipcover, the box itself is extremely plain. But before we get to that, I bet you this thing sounds nice. I've discovered in my years of keyboard unboxings that these slipcovers often sound the nicest of all the packaging. To me, at least. And this one is no exception. So yes, this very plain box, which you can probably just see, but there's a very faint sort of foil stencil of the Flow. It also says LOFREE on the front edge there, nothing on the back. So let's pop this open. Magnetic closure, very nice. The inside, very neat and tidy. On the right, we have accessories and a cable and such. The keyboard. Underneath, a piece of protective foam, and nestled within a padded space buffered by cardboard on all sides. And the flow is right here. We have a little user guide tucked within a little envelope featuring, or more of a, I don't know, what you call this, pocket? I don't know. Featuring the LOFREE logo. And what I presume is a sticker right there. Oh no, I lied. It's a QC little certificate. You can actually see that this particular board was produced late June 2023. This is one of the earlier boards to be produced. I believe they sent it over during the Kickstarter for this product, which ran during the fall. It's now available as a full retail product from LOFREE's website. And if you're wondering, they retail for $160 US. 160. So that's pushing us firmly into, mid-range pricing. So we have a Chinese user guide here, and presumably, the English user guide on this side. This is like expands more than you might think. Put that back. And let's pull out the accessories before we... Oh, right, I see. So, it's been a while since I opened the other one, so I actually kind of forget what's in here. And the answer is not a whole lot, actually. We have this black PVC coated USB cable, type A on one end, type C on the other, and interestingly, a right angle connector. Some LOFREE branding on it. It's kind of a nice little flourish, just a little design choice, just aesthetic choice there. Interestingly, they've supplied us with a black cable for our white keyboard. Not that it looks bad, mind you, the white keyboard does have black legends on it. But I'm a little surprised they did not opt for a white cable to match the keyboard better. The darker, the black colorway, the white on black rather than black on white, did come with a black cable as well. Okay. And that's it. That's all we have in terms of accessories, at least in this package. Now, again, I will remind you, this is an early version of this product and package. It is possible that the final retail version is a little different. Let's put that over here. And we will move aside the box, but you can see there's nothing else to be had in here. And here is the flow in a labeled bag here. And there it is, the light colorway for the LOFREE FLOW. And it's a very attractive keyboard, in my opinion. And we will explore why that is here. Before we get any further, I will say that Flow is a really appropriate name for this board because typing on this thing is so smooth, so flowing, as you will see and hear shortly. This board, as I mentioned earlier, is a little different than the one I've been using in that this has linear switches as opposed to the tactiles on the darker colorway. And when it does come time to do the sound test, I will let you hear both. I'll type on both. But let's take a little look around the design language that's being used here. So LOFREE has opted for this very industrial kind of design. We have this anodized aluminum frame case all the way around in this bright silver. It's more of a gunmetal on the darker colorway. And they've chosen to give it this kind of riveted look. If you take a look here, you'll see we've got these little screws, which almost look like rivets. It kind of gives it this pseudo-industrial look. On the right-hand side, we have a LOFREE badge in kind of a golden color here. Also screwed on there. And those rivets, they run right around the back there. Nothing to be seen on the left-hand side of the board here. The back, though, is actually kind of interesting because we've got these little feet which prop the keyboard up at about a 4-degree angle. But you can see they are made of that same gold-hued aluminum, and they are screwed in with those same little rivet-like screws. We have a little bulge here for the battery, and then another one here to accommodate the USB Type-C port and the mode switch. The switches between off, wired, and Bluetooth modes. These little golden feet have little anti-slip rubber pads on them. Then we have another 2 such rubber pads on the front edge. We have, of course, the name of the keyboard here in white and some information. Made in China, of course. And then we have these. Now, these look pretty nondescript. You might be tempted to just overlook them, but what these are is side lights, or, well, I guess they're side lights. Yeah, they're not really edge lights because they're not on the edge. They're just at the side. And because this sits up at a bit of an angle, there's a bit of empty, space under the board when it's sitting on a desk. And so these little lights actually cast light down and out a bit onto your desk surface. They are RGB, and they can be configured just using keyboard shortcuts. Interestingly, however, the backlight is not RGB. It is just fixed white. That's an interesting choice. I'm not sure why LOFREE opted for that. Personally, I don't mind too much, but I do find it a little bit of an odd choice, just given that I doubt it would have cost them that much more to use RGB LEDs for the backlight. But Anyway, that's what they went with. And that's really it when it comes to the aesthetics all around here. The aluminum, of course, is on the back and on the sides and front. It makes for a very, very solid feeling keyboard. It feels very compact, actually. And it's because it is. I mean, again, look at how slim this is. Oh, actually, while we're here, this little slot on the front is the charging light. The charging light status indicator. So it will flash slowly on and off when charging and those sorts of things. It might also be a caps lock indicator. I don't remember. But yeah, this thing feels quality. It feels premium. It feels dense. That is partly because of the aluminum. It is also because of the sound dampening inside here. We have not only IXPE dampening foam, we also have a silicone pad that I believe sits between the plate and the PCB and dampens a lot of that sound. And then, of course, we have a gasket mount. So what that means is that the plate and PCB assembly are mounted in such a way that they're basically sandwiched between pieces of foam or silicone. I'm not sure what they use here, but something squishy around the edges so that when you're typing on it, there's a bit of flex that's conferred by those squishy mounts rather than being, screwed directly into the stiff aluminum case. And that squishiness, it improves typing feel and gives you this nice bouncy, thocky, buttery feel and sound. And also minimizes vibrations and dampens sound so you don't get unpleasant resonance in your aluminum case and that kind of stuff. This sounds like a minor thing maybe to some people, but it does make a difference. And if you are concerned or picky about how your keyboard sounds or feels, a gasket mount can make a big difference. And LOFREE claims, I've not done the research, but LOFREE claims that the Flow is the world's first gasket-mounted low-profile keyboard, and that kind of makes sense. It's probably harder to achieve a functional gasket mount when you have, like a 1/4 inch of space in which to do it, right? As opposed to a full-size case. So props to LOFREE's engineers and designers for fitting that desirable feature into this very svelte chassis. The one thing we haven't really talked about in terms of aesthetics is the keycaps. Of course, we have the white ones on here, the black ones on the other. These keycaps are made using a dye sublimation, which means that the legends are basically dyed into the plastic being PBT plastic, which is a good high quality keycap material. It won't get shiny or oily with use. It'll retain its nice clean looking matte texture over years of use in theory. But what it means also is that these are not shine-through keycaps. So, if you want shine-through, then you're going to have to look elsewhere. And because this is a low-profile keyboard, you are somewhat limited in your options for keycaps. You're going to want to use a low-profile set. Now, LOFREE will sell you some other sets. They have a few that they offer for, I believe, $60 a piece. But they're nice keycaps. They feel high quality, And you might have noticed they have kind of a interesting profile. It's a little different. It's very rounded, soft looking. It's got these very soft corners that give sort of a pillowy look almost to the keycaps. It reminds me of XDA. It's very similar to XDA profile, except low. It's not as tall as XDA, so it's like a half height, a low profile XDA. At least that's the closest thing I can, think of. I guess we didn't really talk about it, but this board does have a 75% layout, which for a portable board is an excellent choice. It basically gives you all the functionality that you might want without any extra stuff, no repetition. So of course we're lacking a numpad, but again, I think in the case of a portable board like this designed to be used, on the go, lacking a numpad is definitely an acceptable compromise. And but we still have our full F key row up here, and we have a column of nav cluster functions over here. All the essentials: home, end, page up, page down, dedicated arrow keys, lovely to see, a dedicated delete key. We even get a print screen and an insert. What more could you want in a compact board? So a very practical and functional layout, and I think it's the right choice for this keyboard. But again, the limitation here is that you are fairly restricted in terms of what keycaps you can put on here. There are, third-party low-profile sets that you can get as well. Some of them are really nice looking. But we do have, non-standard modifiers to the right of the spacebar here. 1U, and we have a shortened right shift as well. On the plus side, this is a flat profile. There's no sculpting to it, so it's not like each row is differently shaped. They're all the same height and sculpting, which means that if you do get another low profile set, well, I guess it depends on the set, but you could swap out keycaps pretty easily with another low profile set that's also non-sculpted. Anyway, so let's take a look at the switches on this thing. Now, I must admit that's something I haven't done yet with the other colorway and switch type. But let's take a keycap off, pop a switch out, and see what they look like up close. Interestingly, this board bucks the trend of including a keycap and a switch puller in the box. Again, it's possible that the final retail version does include that, but this version does not, which is a little strange because it is hot swappable. And, one of the great advantages of mechanical keyboards of this sort is the customizability. But yeah, you can see these keycaps are just so short. They're ever so slightly scooped on top. It's actually a very appealing profile under the fingers. Just a little bit of scooping there. And these nice rounded corners. Like I said, it's got that kind of slightly pillowy feel to it. And nice and thick as well. And because they are so short, they're quite rigid. There's no flex there because it's all quite compact. So, and let's see what's up with this switch. Now, I presume it can be removed just like any old mechanical switch. even though it is very low. Let's find out. There we go. And there it is. There it is. Isn't it tiny? It's so squat. It's very short. But you can see it has a conventional cross-style stem, although it is enclosed in this round column, I guess, shaft, you might call it. And so it gives it a bit of a different look. The whole switch is made of POM material, which, gosh, what does that stand for? It's polyoxylmethylene, I think, polyoxymethylene. But it's this self-lubricating thermoplastic, which you often see used in switches these days. It's desirable for its smoothness, but also for its acoustic properties. And you can hear it's a nice sounding switch, especially on the bottom out. It's got a nice deep sound. Listen. You can also tell that these are lubed from the factory, so the plastic itself is what they call self-lubricating, but it looks like they have also added some additional switch lube in there. I can feel a little bit on my fingers. On the bottom here, we have our 2 contact pins. We do have several flavors of this switch, and this is the Ghost, I believe. It is their linear POM switch. And it sounds really nice. Very smooth. Feels very smooth, sounds very smooth. That little ticking you're hearing is actually the rebound. Yeah, listen. The bottom out sound is quite thocky. But the rebound is a little bit clicky. So this is the linear Ghost. Then I also have the Tactile Phantoms over there on the other board. And those are the only ones they offer on the board. Like if you were to buy the board assembled, that's what you get. One of those 2. But they also offer, as a separate purchase, a clicky version of this switch, which they call their Wizard. Their Wizard POM switch. I'm actually quite curious about that one. I've never used a low-profile clicky switch before, but regrettably, they did not send any of their Wizard switches, so we won't be testing that out here today. But we do get to see the linears and tactiles. You can see that the socket, the hot swap socket, has a north-facing LEDs, or a north-facing LED, and a switch pad underneath. Looks like the entire board is probably covered with that pour-on foam. So that'll be under each switch, and that will contribute to the softness and the dampening. So I'm not sure what material the plate is made of. Looks like a plastic to me, but I don't know what type. Anyway, the plate in this case is white, which looks great with the white keycaps. Pop this back in. Nice thocky sound. Very easy to pop it in, and very easy to pop the keyboard or keycap back on. Now, of course, because these are low-profile switches, if you're going to swap them out for other switches, they've got to be low-profile as well, right? So same as with the keycaps. And that does mean that if you're looking to get into customizing boards and really swapping stuff out a lot, this maybe isn't the best board, given that it is going to be fairly limited in what you can put into it and onto it. But it's definitely a lot better than just a portable, low-profile membrane board or a non-hot swappable low-profile board. So if you want specifically, a portable low-profile board, this one has way more features and is much more like a full-size board in that regard than pretty much any that has come before it. Now, one thing I'm uncertain about with this low-profile situation is, what do they do for stabilized keys? For the backspace, enter. I'm actually not quite sure. I've never peered under the stabilized keys on that other board. But let's give them a listen here, and then we'll take a lookie. But first, let's test them out from the factory. How do the stabilized keys sound? Starting with the backspace. Basically flawless, like shockingly good. It's not so shocking to me because I know that they're very good on the other one, but I was blown away with the stabilized key performance on here. Under the enter key, such a rich thwack, not a hint of a tick or a rattle. Our left shift. So on our left shift, we do have a tiny bit of a tick on the left side here. Not on the right, not in the center, just on the left. And the space bar, the hardest one of all to get right. Let's listen. We do have a tick on that one. It's not bad, but it is audible. But I actually think it might be going away as we're using it. Listen. I'm actually not sure. But overall, a pretty good showing from the stabilized keys. I would say the space bar or the backspace and enter are darn near flawless. The left shift is really good except for that tick on the left. And the space bar is pretty good. I'm sure they are all lubed though. They must be. Let's pull this backspace off though just to see what we're dealing with underneath. Okay, so we have some standard sort of plate mount stabilizers in black, which actually might not be lubed now that I've said I'm sure that they are. But maybe because they're low profile, somehow they just don't rattle as much. I don't really see any lubrication in there on the wire. But holy heck, they sure sound good. Sometimes it can be tricky to tell if it's a subtle lube job. Sometimes you can't really see it so clearly. But at any rate, whatever they've got going on, it's doing the job. That enter key is just killer. Really nice. And that's pretty much that. I was noticing that the caps lock does have its own little indicator LED. So I guess the one on the front is just for charging. I couldn't quite remember. Listen to that. Isn't that creamy, you guys? I think creamy or buttery is maybe the perfect way to describe this board. I have other boards that I would describe as marbly. It's one of my favorite keyboard sound descriptors. I really like marbly boards. This one, though, it just sounds and feels creamy. I don't know how else to describe it in a lovely way, though. But we will, of course, give it a more thorough sound test shortly. I will take it and do the full typing experience, as well as with the Tactile, which also is delightfully creamy. And I guess we might as well do a quick look around on this one. It's identical, except for it's white on black rather than black on white on the keycaps. And as you can see, the aluminum is a darker gunmetal rather than the bright aluminum on the white model there. But otherwise, identically styled and very nice looking, to be sure. But yes, we will hear more from that board once we get to the typing test. But before we do that, let's dim the lights a bit and take a look at the lighting features on here, both the backlighting and that side lighting I was mentioning. And here is the LOFREE FLOW plugged in with the lights on. And you can see it's a pretty subtle backlight. I do have some ambient light here in the room, just a little bit, fairly dim. But at that level, the backlight is visible, but certainly not what I would call bright. And it is, of course, a fixed white backlight, as we were discussing earlier. You can see also we've got a little bit of that side lighting happening over here and on this side as well. But it is also pretty darn subtle. But it is RGB and it is configurable. And to show it better, I'm going to turn off the ambient lights and we'll get a fully dark room and you'll see that it does show up a little bit better. But we also get this interesting effect where the backlights, the LEDs, do shine through those PBT keycaps. Now, interestingly, that only seems to happen on the white model. If I pull out the black version here, which is going to look very dark in this light, but you'll see the backlight does not bleed through the keycaps. And because of that, it's a much darker looking board actually, overall. Which makes sense. I mean, it is black and the plate on it is also darker colored, so it really does not have much ambient light bouncing around. It's also not plugged in right now, so it's just turning the backlight off automatically. But anyway, the white one certainly does have a brighter backlight just by virtue of more light colors to bounce that light around. And because a little bit of it does come through on those keycaps. Interestingly, it does kind of operate as almost shine through keycaps. I can actually see, and perhaps you can too, I can make out the legends on the keycaps like this. So it could be a pro or a con depending on your perspective, I guess. So those side lights, as you can see, are on. They are pretty subtle and fairly dark. They don't cast that much light onto my desk surface. They can be turned off, and also they have a breathing mode. So there's the breathing mode, which is appealing, and turned off like so. The breathing mode is just a fixed speed. Can't change that speed. Similarly, fix brightness, and the same goes for the backlight. Seems like it's a fixed brightness. If we set our side light to solid, we can flip through some colors with function right. We've got a few options here. I guess that really dark one is the red, which for me is extremely hard to see. I am colorblind though, but I think it's also just very dark. You can see a little bit of it eliminating my fingers in the bottom right here, but certainly the other colors are a lot brighter. And that's really all there is to the backlight on these things. On the dark colorway, it works exactly the same, except for, like I said, the fact that it's even dimmer, really. So it's an interesting choice. I'm not quite sure. I guess maybe LOFREE felt that there had to be some kind of backlight because it's expected, but they don't have shine-through keycaps, so its utility is limited. If it was brighter, maybe it would be more useful, but it really doesn't get that bright. And there's no RGB on the backlight, so, you know, one of my minor gripes that I have with this board is the dimness of the backlight and the fact that it is not RGB. And then the side lights, you know, they're a nice touch, but they don't really bring that much to the feature set. They're just, I guess they're kind of pretty, but they're also fairly dim. But anyway, there they are. You can see on the front we have our battery indicator here. When it's solid like this, it means it's fully charged. When it's flashing, it's or slowly breathing, it's charging. When it's rapidly flashing red, it's running out of batteries. There's also an indicator light over here for caps lock, and that is also the indicator light for Bluetooth pairing. Speaking of Bluetooth, I have it plugged in via my USB cable right now, but it does have the Bluetooth functionality, of course. It pairs quite happily with my phone and my laptop. Interestingly, it seems to struggle on my pairing with my Windows 10 PC. I'm not quite sure why that is, but given that it seems to pair happily with everything else, I'm going to blame that on my PC. Maybe I need to update my Bluetooth drivers or something like that. And the dark colorway has exactly the same behavior, so I think that's on my PC more than anything. And that's really all there is to show you, because there's not a lot of fancy backlight options. And the Bluetooth pairing is quite straightforward. It's just function 1, 2, or 3. Press and long holes to get it into pairing mode, and off you go. Of course, you have to switch it into pairing mode with the switch on the back right by the cable there, or into Bluetooth mode, I should say. And as far as I can tell, there is no software configurability for this keyboard. I checked on LOFREE's site. I did not find anything, so I guess that's not available. So overall, very simple, very straightforward, which means it's time for the typing test. Typing tests, because I'm going to type on the light colorway with the ghost linear switches, and then I will type on the dark colorway with those phantom tactile switches. So you will get to hear both. And pretty nice sounding board. So both of them are. So I hope you enjoy. And there you have it, my friends. The LOFREE FLOW low profile keyboard in the light colorway with those very buttery smooth Kale POM Ghost linear switches, and in the dark colorway with those still very smooth, very buttery Kale POM Phantom Tactile switches. Both of them are pretty lovely. Both of them work really well. Both of them are a joy to type on. I have reviewed a lot of keyboards this year, or unboxed or built, and these are some of the better sounding that I have encountered. And that's especially impressive when you consider that these are low profile keyboards. They obviously don't have the travel distance of a full-size keyboard when you press down on these switches, and yet they feel extremely satisfying to type on. As a matter of fact, it is no exaggeration to say this is the most satisfying low-profile keyboard I've ever typed on. And part of that comes down to its structure. It is, as LOFREE tells me, the world's first low-profile gasket mount keyboard. So it has that nice, soft, bouncy, flexy kind of feel to it, which I no doubt contributes to that very smooth, very buttery typing feel. I will say it's not as soft as gasket mounts that I have encountered on some full-size keyboards. It's a bit stiffer than that. But when you consider the fact that there's really not much vertical space to work with, it makes a little bit more sense. And really the proof is in the pudding, right? It still sounds and feels incredible. Also worth noting that, listening to it as I was typing on it, the sound coming through the microphones, I don't think that it sounds quite as good as it feels, if that makes sense. Which is to say, if you are a third party standing in the room or listening through the microphones, it sounds good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't sound quite as smooth as it feels. But once you get your hands on it, the action of these switches and the feel that they confer, along with that gasket mount and all that sound dampening going on inside, really does result in a typing feel that is more than the sum of its parts. I keep using that term, creamy or buttery, and that is really apt. It really does feel that way. Part of that might also be due to the keycaps. These very pleasing PBT keycaps, which also have this almost kind of pillowy smoothness to them. All of that combines to create what I will say is, I think, the creamiest typing experience I have ever had. And again, typing feel and sound are completely subjective. It totally comes down to personal preference. Some people might want that nice, buttery smoothness. Others might want something with a bit more clack, a bit more bite to it. But for me, this is really, really delightful. And again, the fact that we get it in such a compact and portable package is really, really impressive. A couple of minor nitpicks I have. One is the fact that it doesn't come with the 2.4 gigahertz support. It would be nice to have that USB receiver and 2.4 gigahertz option in case the Bluetooth isn't working for you, or maybe you have a PC that doesn't have a Bluetooth adapter in it. And also, I feel like the backlight and the side lights are a little bit lackluster. They're just not that bright. The backlight is a fixed white backlight, no RGB or fun patterns to be had. And it just seems like they kind of did the bare minimum there. Maybe they could have just gotten rid of it entirely if they weren't going to really go for it. Or kick it up a notch, give me those RGB LEDs, make it a bit brighter. But aside from that, those two minor gripes, this is a fantastic board. And if you are looking for a premium feeling and sounding and built portable keyboard, low profile keyboard, then the LOFREE FLOW is one of the best, without a doubt. It is, in fact, the best low profile that I have ever used myself. And I do believe that it's quite durable as well. I think it will last you well. The aluminum construction, the PBT keycaps with the double shot, or pardon me, the die sublimation, should last basically forever. And because it's hot swap, if you ever do have an issue with one of your switches, you can easily replace it, and you can obtain replacement switches from LOFREE. So what's not to like? It looks great, it sounds great, it feels great, it works great. Highly recommend it. Without a doubt, my favorite portable keyboard of 2023. And with that, my friends, we've come to the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed what we did here, had a chance to enjoy some of the sounds and sights that this keyboard has to offer. You will, of course, find a link down below in the video description if you would like to pick up one of these for yourself. There you go, for 160 USD direct from LOFREE. And like I said, I think it's a fantastic value if you want a premium low profile portable board. A big thank you to LOFREE for sponsoring this video and for sending over both of the keyboards that we looked at here today. And a big thank you to all of you for watching. I hope you found it informative, but above all, I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you back here next time. Bye for now, my friends. Hey, it's the bonus bit at the end of every video. I really don't know if anyone actually listens to this part of the video. If you do, if you make it here, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Say hi. Leave a comment that says, we know. I don't know why that's what came to mind. It's like a Dark Brotherhood thing. We know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone ever makes it here. I hope they do. I really hope they do, because this is an important part of the video. It's the part where I thank our amazing supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships. These individuals support this channel and the content that I create very kindly and earn some fun perks. Well, they're at it. At least I think they're fun. Perks like early access to my weekend videos, and at the 𝓒𝓡 and above tier, getting to vote each month on the topic of a video that I'll make and put on my channel, and at the 𝓒𝓡 tier, the most epic tier. Those individuals, they get their names read in a special spoken shout out in each and every one of my videos. And it is my great honor to read you our 𝓒𝓡 tier supporters for this video, starting with Drummer Brit, Rango Steel, Jake Luffney, K Time, Odinson, all caps, Captain Vanquisher, and Ragnar Ragnarsson. A truly epic group of individuals. Their support means so much to me, as does that of everybody on this page. They help me make the kind of content that I love the most, give me the freedom to do that, and hopefully content that you enjoy as well. And if you would like to join these folks, if you would like to support what I do here and maybe get some fun perks while you're at it, please consider checking out my Patreon and YouTube membership links down below and near the top of the video description. I'm sure you will find a tier that's right for you. once more, a big ol' shout out and thank you to this channel's amazing supporters.